I think I want to start with coming from a world where I would call this woo woo thinking, or like it's what I think there's an actual term like new age religion is maybe what you would call it. It's so foreign to me that let's let's start with the topic of energies, right? So we both have masculine and feminine energies within us. Is that correct or not correct?
Mm, Yes, that's a good understanding.
So not having the knowledge or even the understanding of all of this beforehand and being so new to it, can you explain to me what that exactly means
You
about
said so.
the
So
energies within
basically,
us?
okay. So the understanding of the masculine and feminine energies within us, based just off of spiritual understanding, because you feel really new to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would like to say is, when it comes to the spiritual understanding of masculine and feminine energy, it's not about, it doesn't have anything to do with gender. When you really introduce the spiritual understanding of it into it, it's more based off, feminine energy being open to other realms of, the spiritual understanding. So the 5D, the 4D, your connection to source itself, and knowing things beyond just what you see in the 3D world. And the masculine understanding, while again, it can sometimes be seen as in relation to strength, or in relation to what the male energy should do, it's not based off gender when you speak about it in a spiritual understanding. It's based off, somebody who is less, or desires to be less connected or less open to the 4D and 5D realms of thinking, which is knowledge that's beyond just what you see in the 3D world. So that's the difference. The main difference, if I were to sum it up, is that feminine energy is really, really focused on the spiritual understandings based off what is beyond what you see in the 3D. And that does often connect to emotion and intuition, but it's not to be confused with just thinking it is the emotional understanding. That intuition talks about things that are beyond what you see with your eyes in the 3D world, in the physical world. And the masculine energy is really that you see, or your playground is really, really just focused on the 3D or physical world. Everything that exists there, you're not necessarily looking beyond what your eyes can see. You're not necessarily tapping heavily into your intuition. Not to say you wouldn't use it at all, because it may matter to some extent in the 3D world, but it's largely you're only worried about or connecting with what's in the 3D or physical world. So that's the true difference between the two.
So how does this apply to someone like me? Like, where would I even be? Do I even focus on any of that? Does it just happen if you have both of those within you? I mean, where do people get lost? I feel like it's a trending or seen as cool to now talk about. You see on all over social media, like the divine feminine uprising, like, things are changing. It's just like, it's cool to talk about that. Dude, but what does that even mean for people? I mean, so it doesn't have to do with sex. I'm female, but so I could be, well, if we have both, but are you dominant in one? So I guess that's one question.
Yeah.
And what does this even mean for me? Do I even think about this stuff?
Okay. Yeah. Well, as far as that goes, you can be, it's like almost having somebody who is right-handed, versus left-handed. And actually, in spiritual understandings, there is a side of your body that does relate to the masculine energy. It's usually the right side, and the feminine energy, which is usually the left side. So it is about having, maybe you are, more dominant in your masculine side of energy versus your feminine side of energy. And it does not matter about gender, like I said. So you could be a woman and be dominant and masculine energy, which means that your playground, or where you feel the most grounded and connected, or the easier understanding for you, is the 3D or physical world. But the the truth of it is that in some sense we're meant to be ambidextrous. learning to balance and deal with that other side of ourselves too. So it's like trying to learn to write with your opposite hand, which is handy. It's good. And this means if you've ever tried to practice writing with your opposite hand and you've never done it before, your hand may feel weak, or it may feel hard to do. It's hard to understand how to pick up a pencil or pen in relation to it, how to write with those lines. It's really, really hard to do because you've never utilized it before. And this is about making sure that both sides of you are growing themselves, or in a sense of balance, instead of your 3D, or your if you're heavily masculine connected, that side of you isn't trying to overcompensate and leaving all of this other side of you out. So when you say that there's a lot of stuff that speaks about the feminine uprising, I'm not saying that, this understanding, there's certain energies, there's very different sectors of that. Some people may be talking about the uprising from a place of women themselves, and to some extent, the divine feminine energy has just been connected to women. However, at the same time, divine feminine energy, or feminine energy itself, it does belong to men too. It belongs to all of us. These energies belong to everyone, and you have both of them within you, and it's about trying to learn to balance and connect with both. Some of the issues that we may see or have in our world could be said to be related to the fact that we don't have enough connection to the divine feminine understanding. And that's the name that a lot of people give it to kind of differentiate from, speaking about gender, divine feminine energy versus divine masculine energy. Those understandings are, we may have for a long time existed in a more divine masculine understanding in our world. And so now is the time for helping the divine feminine understanding of energy to get to and grow to the level where it can integrate and help to balance out the world. We can't, when you just have this overabundance of this one understanding and your 3D reality, then it can be too much, or it can start to break down. It's like everything in moderation. Too much of not too much of a good thing, because you can see that there's a lot of ways in which our world has, probably been hurt by the fact that we have so much overabundance of divine masculine energy that is just kind of like taken over or leading things. That the thought process or the thinking for the divine masculine energy can be different from the thought process of thinking for the divine feminine energy. So bringing these two different thought processes together, can give you new ideas and new ways to build and balance out the world. Hey, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have a question you would like to ask, or would like the opportunity to receive a one-on-one session, please check out the links in this video's description to sign up for a free session or submit a question.